So.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk Talk Punch. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Brody, joined by Tudong Dylan.
Hey!
And the Uncle Jesse to this full house, Charlie Hickman.
It is an honor.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. While you're here, we'd love to interact with you. So comment down below. Just be nice about it. And then whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening on the audio version, wherever you get your podcast, make sure you go ahead and hit that thumbs up or the star rating, whatever rating system is on whatever system you're watching. And then subscribe, or else Dylan is going to show up at your house, drink all your milk, and leave the empty carton in your refrigerator. Nobody wants that.
True.
Nobody wants that. Then you can easily come back here every Wednesday to hang out with us and see what we're talking about. Kind of like this week's topic. We are going with the top 3 90s sitcoms. This one is right up these guys' alleys. Not as much mine. I had a really hard time with this list.
Well, always complaining, man. Always complaining. It's
like
3
television.
shows from a decade.
He's got a point, bro. He does
know.
have a point.
I
It's not-
know.
Ooh.
I know.
Oh,
This one's like great for you guys, and I'm like, I don't know.
No, look, this I didn't watch a lot of 90s sitcoms, so this was a harder list for me than you might expect.
It was kind of difficult because pretty much all through the 90s, the only thing I watched was professional wrestling. So if it wasn't wrestling, it was wasting my time.
And the ones I usually watch started either in the 80s or started in the 2000s, but some of them, some really good gems started in the 90s, I gotta say. Some really good shows.
I can think of 3. And I want to do an honorable. Hey, stick around after the show for Charlie's honorable mentions of 90s TV shows that you've never heard of and will never be able to stream anywhere because they don't exist.
Oh,
It will shock it.
exciting!
It will shock you because you'll be like, "What are those? Those aren't real things," but they are.
Folks,
All right.
I know that you're Charlie doing his thing, and he always has things that are so mainstream. Nothing's ever obscure. Ever.
Ever.
All right, well, who's going first, bro? By the way, I like that in your little intro thing. The worst punishment isn't that Dylan is randomly at your house. Like, how does he know where you live? There's Dylan inside, but that he drinks your milk. That's the egregious offense. It's terrifying to have Dylan in your house.
You never know when Dylan's going to show up at your house. You just never know it.
Oh,
That's why you need to
It's more
subscribe.
It's more
you better have milk.
Yeah, I'd probably more likely eat all your peanut butter, or at least make a peanut butter sandwich than drink all your milk. But you know what? If you like milk, I'm going to drink it, or get rid of it, I guess.
Well, and the bigger thing was that you leave the empty carton in the refrigerator.
I'll do that, too.
Nothing worse.
Yeah.
Nothing worse than that. All right,
Nothing worse.
let's
No.
get on with the lists.
Who's first?
Oh,
Who is it?
that's not the right screen. There's the right screen. I got it. I know how to work this thing. I think I am first. I think the order is me, and then Dylan, and then Charlie. Charlie, I tried to put you last on these because you typically have the most to say about these ones, because these are shows that you watched and you loved. Normally, I do these, and I'm like, I needed to make a list. I remember watching this show.
All right. Tell Brody in the comments to watch television shows. They're good. Get a Hulu subscription. It's 2022, my man. TV is where it's at.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, my number 3 is a show that came out in like 1991. So I was like 9 years old. And at the time, I thought it was really funny. I really enjoyed watching it. I don't know if you can stream. I think it might be on Disney Plus, but I'm not sure. I don't know if it would hold up or not. And that is Dinosaurs.
Oh,
Oh.
hey. Now, I remember watching this one. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, this was a fun show. It was, it's like the Jim Henson stuff. It was like this show with an everyday family with teenagers and stuff like that, but they were these dinosaurs, and they were all like animatronic, and they had all this crazy stuff, which I don't know. I thought it was really cool for it being a TV show. It looked like it would have been a ton of work to do just like a half-hour thing. Yes, Charlie, you want to say something?
Do you guys know who the voice of the mom was?
No.
Jessica Walter.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Of Archer fame and Arrested Development fame. She's fantastic. May she rest in peace.
She was also the star Clint Eastwood's directorial debut, Play Misty for Me, and she was a psychopath. The precursor to Fatal Attraction. Crazy. That's how you do crazy. Great.
So
pick,
yeah,
bro.
so I remember really enjoying this show. I don't know if I watched the entire thing. I know I watched like the series finale where they all just watch the comet come down and it's this impending doom on everybody. It was really
the darkest
quite
end
dark.
to a TV show.
It was quite dark. It is this comedy with Muppets, and everybody's just watching the comet fall as they are ready to die. So
It's so.
yeah. All right.
Good pick, bro. Good pick.
Oh, thank you. All right. Next up, Tudong.
Hey, that's me.
That is you.
My number 3 pick played from 1989 to 98. It is the seminal show Seinfeld. You got your Jerry Seinfeld, you got your Jason Alexander, you've got your Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who's now in the MCU. You've got all the cast of characters, the crazy recurring characters, the soup Nazi and the Bubble Boy. All sorts of different shenanigans. It showed that you could do a television show with witty writing, jokes, and doesn't really. It's not about anything, and I'm fine with that. Now it's my number 3. I'll admit, like I would see random episodes, but it's not something that I actually like watched feverishly. I didn't follow it. I did watch like the finale when it aired. But I will say, I mean, the writing on that show, the jokes, the chemistry was unbelievable, seminal, some could say, and easy number 3 pick for me. And I'd be shocked if it's not on your guys' list somewhere on there.
Oh, we'll see.
Indeed.
Charlie's got nothing to add. All right. Moving on to Charlie's number 3.
Waiting for the reveal here. Where's the reveal?
Come on, bro.
What reveal? Oh, you don't want any build up? You just want me to go right to it?
No. The build up is because it's a seamless transition into my number 3 here.
Oh.
Which is Seinfeld.
Oh, there you go.
So
nice.
Who are these people? I used to do pretty good Jerry back in the day. Who are these people? Slow changing slides when we need them faster.
You gotta tell me. I don't know what your guys' picks are.
Say. I didn't know his pick. I didn't know it'd be.
You didn't know it was you.
I didn't know it was me. No. So this was a fun show. It was a very fun show, and this was a great just a great quote, maybe the most quotable show of my youth. Just
Sure.
like that, like these little quips and little things that just no soup for you or whatever it may be. That just my mom still talks about whenever there's a salad involved. She says a big salad.
Anytime I hear like Moors, I'm like, oh no, it's the moops.
Moops. So it's like the I enjoyed the show, and I think it's a really well done show. I think it's very funny, and I do think it's a show that like maybe like the legacy is like more than like the episode to episode like season binge.
Yeah,
if that kind of makes
Sure.
sense. Like just like the cultural impact, the water cooler nature of the show. It's really fun. I was a bass player in high school, and so everyone would always be like, "Hey, play the Seinfeld theme." which was done on a keyboard. But so I spent I learned it as a it has that like kind of cool, and, you know, it's pretty intricate. It's because keyboard work. It's on a fake bass, so you get this whole slapping pattern done just in time for no one to care about it at all anymore. So like the curve of, because it was like the end of the show is basically when I started playing bass, and so it's like by the time I had this mastered and I'd play it for people and they'd be like, "What is that?"
Oh man.
It was like, "Oh, it's the Seinfeld thing." Does no one know? Now I'm going to play a Night Court.
Everybody got that one, right?
from TV shows. Oh man, everybody loves it. You want to hear a little Law and Order? Bow bow.
I love Night Court.
Bam, 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 now. Yeah. So anyway, good show, very fun. Very streaming. It just bounces streaming service to streaming service. So if you haven't seen a lot of it, you can pick and choose the best of episodes. This is one where, like, if you're like Brody and you just don't want to get buried in just this 173 episode soup, then you can just pick out just look up a best Seinfeld episode list. If you want us to curate one for you, we can. But there's just some must-see episodes that are great for cultural references, if nothing else, and very, very worth the time to at least watch a smattering of eps.
There you go.
Nice. Well put. Very well put.
Thank you, sir. Watch the show!
All right. Number twos. So my number two.
Rhodes number two.
I remember my number
Drop
two.
it.
All right. It is probably the show that I watched the most in the 90s.
And yet not number one. Interesting.
Indeed.
And that's The Simpsons.
Hey!
I would watch this. I would record it on VHS. It was on like every single night. And so every night I was recording on VHS. I have no idea where those are. Boy, they might be in a box actually in my garage. But yeah, this was, it was a fun show, especially, I was like 10 to, into my teens years while this was going on. And so this was just a fun one to watch. It's still going. So I haven't kept up with it in a long time, but I watched the heck out of it through the 90s. Yeah, I don't know. It was good. I liked it.
It was good.
I ordered it on VHS.
Treehouse of Terror.
The Treehouse of Terrors were great. So I even like getting into the 2000s when Charlie would have the DVD, fun to pop those on. But yeah, I watched this probably more than any other TV show besides wrestling. Because it was on all the time. This was on all the time.
All the time. And it has second life now, by the way, like not just because it's still going, but I walked into my kids watching a YouTube video of The Simpsons Predicts the Future. Going through all the, there's all the, like, The Simpsons had this character doing this in the future, and now, the correlate. So it's got a whole new YouTube life too, and people talking all these weird conspiracies, like maybe Barney is actually Homer's dad who time traveled back in time to like help him get his life together, but then got distracted and got into drinking and then forgot that he was from the future. And I don't know. There's a whole bunch of weird. You can pause our video and go search them out. Maybe we need to get in the Simpsons conspiracy theory videos market. But great show.
Funny.
Very good show.
Yeah, it was a good one. All right.
Good pick.
Thank you. All right, Tudong, you're number two.
My number two is the seminal sitcom Living Single from 1992. 98. You got Queen Latifah as Khadijah, who was, interestingly, the most grounded character on the show. Kim Coles as Sinclair, her cousin. Actually, Khadijah was starting what is it? She was starting her own magazine, Flavor Magazine. That was it, Flavor Magazine.
Sounds like it's from the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. And like a businesswoman the entire time. Her cousin Sinclair, she moved over to New York. I think it was based in New York, and Sinclair moved over there with her, and she was like a receptionist or something along those lines. And they lived with Regine, played by the incomparable Kim Fields, also Tootie from The Facts of Life. That's how I kind of got into this, because I was like, Tootie's on this? I gotta see it. And I'm frozen. Yeah, Kim Fields was my favorite from The Facts of Life, besides George Clooney, of course, and Charlotte Rae, who was also fantastic. Either way, we also have Erica Alexander, who plays Maxine or Max, who was a lawyer. She didn't live with the other girls, but she was a part of it. Loved the show. I was I kind of went back and started watching some of the episodes, which are on Hulu, by the way, and you should check them out because really funny. And Kim Fields, as I was watching it, was surprisingly almost seemed like she was doing a very subtle Jack A from 227 impression. I was really waiting for her to say Mary. I never saw it, not yet at least. But loved the show, watched the show as it aired. Started off with Tootie, and I left off with all of them. Absolutely fantastic. By the way, Kim Cole started out in Living Color, which I almost put on here before realizing that's not a sitcom.
I wish that was a sitcom. That would have been on my list.
That would have been on my list too.
Nice.
And there we are.
Good show. Great pick, D.
I never followed this one, but I'll take your word for it.
Fun.
All right, Charlie, you're number two.
So Dylan and I are following similar list structures here. My number two, I guess, is a little bit more of what you might consider a wild card. And technically, it's not TV. It's HBO. And so for my number two here, it is the legendary Gary Shandling starring in the Larry Sanders Show. Hey now, Hank Kingsley.
This is almost on my list.
This is just a fantastic, like a nearly perfect written show. Just a great cast. I believe the tally is like 187 celebrity cameos of them playing themselves on this kind of like behind the scenes look at like a late night talk show. In the height of like talk show popularities. I never watched a lot of like Letterman or Leno or whoever was on when I was growing up. I just didn't really appeal to me, the talk show stuff. But the behind the scenes stuff I thought was really interesting and really fascinating and really fun. I watched the Gary Shandling Show in the 80s as a kid. This is the theme to Gary Show. It's just a really, really weird, strange show. I mean, I say that like as someone who's put a lot of weird shows on these lists before. That's a weird one, and it was certainly not for everybody, but it appealed to my child brain. And so when he got on HBO show, I thought, I'll just watch this. It really fantastic. Rip Torn is like just got to have one of the best deliveries in the business. But just really, like, if you've never seen it, if you have HBO Max, it's on there. It's worth watching. It's a really, I think it holds up in the way that like I think you can really appreciate the humor. It's kind of almost like a precursor to some of like the Curb Your Enthusiasm, Seinfeld stuff. In fact, a lot of Seinfeld characters make cameos. I think they were filming on the same stage at the same time. So it's just, if you like that kind of comedy, that kind of like dry, deadpan delivery, it's worth trying to see if it clicks for you. But just an incredible show, incredible cast. Gary Shandling passed away in 2016. Some of you youngins may just remember him from the MCU because he had a big role in a couple of big MCU products as a senator. Senator Stain. Brody, help me out. Senator Storm. What was his name?
He was in Iron Man 3, right?
Senator Stern.
Two? Was
Senator
it two?
Stern.
Iron
Man 2 and Captain America Winter Soldier was his last MCU appearance. So anyway, may he rest in peace. Fantastic comedian and a really, for all accounts, a good human being. So just a worth a watch if you haven't seen it. Can't recommend it enough. Larry Sanders Show.
That's fun.
All right. Moving right along to my number one. Now, my number one, kind of a crossover.
Oh, Larry Sanders?
It's
Living Single?
It's not the Larry Sanders Show. It's Seinfeld.
Hey!
So kind of as Charlie alluded to, this was a really easy show to watch because it wasn't, you didn't have this long continuity of episodes where you needed to see this episode before you saw that episode and things like that. There may be some strands that kind of linger, but for the most part, you can jump in anywhere and watch it and enjoy it, and then you don't have to watch the next episode. So this was a really easy one to get into. It's funny, I remember being in like middle school and all my friends were talking about the Friends show. And they were like, "Oh, Brody, you gotta watch this show, Friends. It's so funny," and all this stuff. And so I went home that night, and Seinfeld was airing before Friends. So I watched Seinfeld and really enjoyed it. And then I watched Friends and I was like, it's okay. And I went back the next day and they were like, oh, did you watch Friends? And I was like, yeah, it was fine. But have you ever seen that show Seinfeld before it? And so it was just great. It's an easy one, and like it still remains funny and it still remains easy, especially in syndication, because you can just watch any episode. And if you're watching in syndication, and you're watching it and they have like a 2-3 episode block or something like that, and it's out of order, it doesn't really matter. You can just enjoy the episodes and watch them and then be done. So this one's great. It's still super funny. I really enjoyed it. So there's my number one.
Nice. I never got into Friends. I really never did. I saw some
either. I didn't either.
I got into Friends super late, and I watched it. My sister had them all on DVD, so like, I think like in the 2010s or something, I watched my first episode of Friends. I kind of made it all the way through, so I'm like, ooh, texting people, oh, Ross and Rachel, huh? It's like like a decade late. He was on a break. What?
Once at a hockey game, really nice guy, shockingly tall. Like you would expect him to be like 5'9" maybe, but he was like 6 feet tall. I was looking up at him. So nice.
So tall, that 6 foot man, like a giant.
That's tall for some people, and it's a lot. I expect to be looking up at.
No part of that story went the direction that I thought I was going to go. You would think he was 5'9", but he was like 5'10", 5'11". Couldn't believe it.
Two tall individuals like yourselves, two taller individuals, that makes lots of sense. Two people who are quite as tall. 6 feet happens to be taller than you would expect. You don't expect to look up at Matthew Perry. You expect him to be like, a normal height, not tall.
All right, D, what's your number one?
My number one.
I think I know your number one. I think I know it.
My one is probably my least wild card choice ever.
Is it Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah, it's Dragon. I wore this because yes, it is Dragon Ball Z. All of my 90s sitcoms are also my 90s cartoon picks. I almost put those on here just to mess with you guys, but I don't know how to switch them back. My number one 90s sitcom is the seminal, legendary, classic Frasier. He started off in Cheers season 3, and I was watching Cheers, and let me tell you, I liked Cheers a lot, and then I loved Cheers, and at points it could be really just frustrating, but Frasier, I actually showed my wife Frasier. It went on from 93 to 2004. I showed it to my wife, and she was all in, to the point where she even went back and watched Cheers. We actually started a podcast about Frasier a bit ago.
You and your wife started a podcast? Started listening to one, or you guys have created your own podcast?
We created our own, and we kind of put it on pause because Talk Punch is your guys' schedule is just so busy. I can't do any other podcasts. All these other they're like, be on our podcast, and I'm like, I can't do it. I'm doing Talk Punch. Even the wife, she was like, well, then leave Talk Punch, and I was like, get out.
That's right.
So I couldn't ever do that. The thought of that is preposterous. Either way, I showed her Frasier. She fell in love with it just like I did. She got tickets to watch Candide starring Kelsey Grammer. This has nothing to do with the sitcom, but this is how much she loved it. I almost started choking up because I was in the same room with the guy that I'd been watching since the 80s on Cheers. It's about Frasier leaving Cheers. He goes to Seattle. He's he's a psychiatrist, but now he's on a radio show about psychiatry where he's giving advice. It had the record for most Emmys, won and or nominated. I can't remember if it's nominated or won. And then Game of Thrones, which is just ridiculous. I don't know, whatever they did. As far as I'm concerned, Frasier's still number one. It is an excellent show. I highly recommend it. The wife and I will put it on all the time. If there were no other show, this would be the show that we would watch separately or together. And it absolutely fantastic. When I went over to Seattle, because they didn't really film any episodes except for like one where they're walking around Seattle, there wasn't really anything there, which was really disappointing. You see the Space Needle in the picture right over here, but he goes back to his home town of Seattle, Washington, and his brother and his dad are living there. His dad has to move in with him. He has to get himself a like a caregiver for him, a physical therapist, and all that. Kelsey Grammer, uh, John Mahoney, David Hyde Pierce, Jane Leibs, and what was Roz's name? Roz, who played Frasier's producer.
Dylan.
Perry Gilpin. That's right, Perry Gilpin.
Wow.
All of these
Disappointing.
She actually is the only one that didn't win an Emmy, which is preposterous, but excellent show. Highly recommended. It's one of those that always kind of just put it on the back. You can focus on it and watch it. It doesn't matter if you watch it. It doesn't matter. You just don't turn it on. I'm going on.
Dylan, you're breaking up a little bit, so.
Well, that's okay. Why don't we pass the baton to my number one, because, and it may shock you.
Is it going to be Frasier? It is going to be Frasier. But
my number one is Frasier. This is a show that I watched in the 90s.
Goodness. You too.
It is a show I watched in the 2000s. It is a show I watched in the 2010s. And it is still a show that I watch. I was just watching episodes the other night. It's fantastic. It's a feel-good show. It's a show that doesn't shy away. So look, there's a whole lot of different plots and things that they delve into that are, I think, more serious, like of nature. I think partly due to their roles as therapists, and partly just because of the family dynamics. But even like when they have like a big kind of like love story kind of come to so they have this love story kind of come to a close, and it kind of ends messy for side characters. And like in a show like The Office, like where, you know, whether it's Roy getting, or, you know, or Karen, and they kind of just like, they're on the show and then they're kind of off the show, and we don't really need to see the aftermath of the choices of the characters. You know, Frasier kind of leans in really hard on like that you're really happy for the characters that end up together, but you're also seeing kind of some of the damage of that play out peripherally in the characters. They really never really shied away from like just telling serious stories and then accentuating that with like just classic deliveries, incredible acting, and just like really well-timed jokes and humor. Just an incredible all-star cast. And it's a reboot coming. So I'm really curious to see what they're gonna do. Yeah. So it's
gonna be Kelsey Grammer?
Paramount Plus. Yeah, they're rebooting the series. Obviously, John Mahoney's passed away, so he won't be in the role. But
I thought continuing it.
So the latest quote, this is from Kelsey Grammer in July. He said, "We're in the final stages of the final script for the first episode of Frasier, and it looks pretty good. I've had a couple of runs through it, and I cried, so you know I'm happy." So I think that, you know, they're gonna be dealing probably with the death of their father, and it's gonna be really interesting to see how that rolls out. I'm sure it'll be great, because I am not gonna doubt their ability to make this character interesting, because he's been interesting for a long time.
Very long.
Does that mean that he can't come back as Beast in the MCU?
I think he can do both, bro. He can do both. I think he's going to do all his characters again. He's just doing a run.
Everything
down the list. He's going to be like, all right, what have I done? I will say also, if you're a fan of Frasier but have never watched 30 Rock, there are a couple episodes where Kelsey Grammer plays himself on 30 Rock, and it is hilarious. And there's even an episode where they show a clip from a fake TV show called Black Frasier. It's really funny. You can just YouTube that straight up. But so for Frasier fans that maybe never watched Little 30 Rock, check those out. That's all on Hulu, bro. All on Hulu.
You know, you told me to watch 30 Rock. You never told me that there was any sort of Kelsey Grammer Frasier on 30 Rock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does a couple episodes where he plays lampoons himself as Kelsey Grammer. Very, very funny. She gets it.
She gets it. There you go.
Hey, my daughter has already seen Frasier. Absolutely.
She's probably seen more than me.
Holds up. Give it a watch.
You will crave sherry and red wine and coffee and go into Cafe Nervosa. You're going to want to start giving advice to people. It may not be good. It may be great. You may start wanting to kind of like dust things off with your handkerchief that you're going to carry around. Or maybe you're going to want to have a little dog, a cane, and a nice, cool Valentine, which is the brand of beer that Martin, the dad, would drink.
It's hard for me to watch an episode without thinking of the three of us as the three characters. And
who am I?
Our roles sometimes change, but more often than not, Brody, I picture you as the dad.
Is he grumpy?
He has this way. He's grumpy, and he has this like Frasier or Niles will do something, and maybe it's a little too risque, or they're talking about something, and he just goes, "Ah, geez," and he just
Yeah.
with this delivery, and every time he says, "Ah, geez," all I can picture is Brody just like trying to listen to me and Dylan talk about some random thing, and Dylan takes it too far, and Brody, "Ah, geez," Dylan. Ah, jeez. So you watch an episode, bro, and just picture the. I'm not saying your personality's like him, and certainly, Dylan and I are not nearly. We don't have nearly enough money to be as hoity-toity and pompous as the Crane brothers.
Hey,
but,
you guys are pretty fancy.
yeah. I'm drinking my Kirkland cold brew, baby. That's living.
All right.
Who'd you catch?
What?
We'll talk later, but. Yeah, you and I take turns as Frasier and Niles. I think you're more of a Frasier, but
All right. Well, Charlie,
Okay.
you said you had some
that hot
honorable
temper.
mentions. What are your
honorable mentions?
We got to make
Okay.
it fast though. We got to
make it
up.
fast. We're gonna burn through these.
Go for
HBO
it.
shows. Dream On, very interesting. Never gonna be able to see it. They don't have episodes streaming even on HBO Max. Doesn't make any sense. Licensing issues. Gone forever. The 90s TV show. Can I interest you in Ryan Reynolds paired with Nathan Fillion in a sitcom from the 90s?
Oh, two guys, a
You're
girl, and a
intrigued?
pizza place.
Oh, you like Natalie Teeger from Monk? Oh, Taylor Howard, she's in there too. Great. Oh, you liked Silicon Valley? Oh yeah, you know what? Suzanne Cryer is also in that show. We'll never see it. Doesn't exist anywhere. Herman's Head, fantastic 90s TV show, but you'll have to take my word for it. Doesn't exist anywhere. Parker Lewis Can't Lose, except in the streaming wars. Doesn't exist. You could probably watch some episodes on YouTube of those last few. But I'll tell you one that is streaming. Arliss was a show that I enjoyed in the 90s because of all the sports cameos.
Yeah.
Also on HBO Max. Lots of professional sports players, men, women. Gosh, that sounds like I've never watched sports in my life. Sports players. Athletes is what they're called.
Sports people.
Sports players who hit the goals into the home run nets are also all over that one. A lot of good shows, but none of them quite good enough to pop the top 3.
There you go. All right, sounds good. You guys have anything else to add to this?
No
choice.
All right, Charlie, go ahead and take us home.
All right, so just let's continue. Every time we do a TV episode, I want you guys shaming Brody in the comments for not having a Hulu subscription. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna start a Kickstarter.
One day.
Everyone's gonna pitch in. We need 100 people to pitch in like a penny a month.
We need to
get Brody to that
GoFundMe.
Hulu subscription.
GoFundMe. Let Brody get a Hulu.
We're gonna make it happen. All right. Well, if you had any fun today, make sure you check out some videos below here that are similar to this, and make sure you click that like and subscribe below that TV-less beard over there. And we will see you next time, 90s or otherwise.
I'll see you guys later.